Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman, and unfortunately, we have more unacceptable violence in America. It's happening in Dallas, Texas. We're monitoring a news conference where officials will take the microphone shortly, we think now, because they're moving the podium under an overhang where the rain won't be hitting the people that are talking. The media can work in the rain. They're used to that. But the folks that are coming out to speak about what happened at this ICE facility or near this ICE facility in northwest Dallas, where the rain is moving through, but it's just still drizzling and dripping. We should be able to get this on for you here in a little bit if and when it starts. Coming up at 10:30, Mark Alford will be with us, Missouri's 4th District Congressman. And I've been working all week to set this up to talk about safety at events, dangers of the left, minors gone wild like the kid at T-Mobile Center, and his future race in his districts. We got a lot to talk about today, including this breaking news in Dallas is very topical. So Mark Alford will be with us coming up in about 30 minutes or so. Toward the end of the show, the Missouri man that won half of the $1.7 billion in Powerball has a plan for the future. We'll tell you what that is. Still don't know a lot about him. And it appears, according to reports, Salvador Perez will be back with the Royals next year. They're going to accept the option, pay him about $14 million and bring him back. He's had a terrific year again this year and is defying time, which is very good. All right, the latest here, and I'm going to go at the risk of getting ahead of a story, which I want to say right at the start here, I do not want to get ahead of this story. This does not add up to what we have seen in the initial reactions to what has taken place in Dallas. The reports are, and again, we saw this every time one of these stories happens, the early reports and the early reporting 5 hours from now will have flaws to them. So that's what we're working with here. But I think the fundamentals of what just happened in Dallas are in play, and that is near an ICE facility, a man on the roof with a rifle, apparently they're describing him as a sniper, shot 3 people. They were all detainees. Well, what are ICE detainees? They're illegal aliens. You can call them detainees here, but we've been calling them on this show illegal aliens for a long time. I would assume if they've detained them, they're in there for a reason, and they're illegal. They had to be outside walking somewhere or being brought in by ICE agents. They've been very specific. No ICE agents were harmed in this. 2 of the detainees are dead. The other is injured. The man on the roof, according to reports, killed himself after shooting these detainees. There's some possibilities here. There's some possibilities that it's personal, that the person knew who was coming in, that they had committed a crime against a loved one or something like that, and they wanted vengeance. That's always possible. It is also possible that it's somebody rogue, crazy on the right that has come out and said, we're tired of all these people on the left committing all these crimes, and a person on the right who's lost their mind over the illegal aliens that are in our country went to take some action. These things are all in play. We do not know until this news conference happens. But this does not initially look like an attack on ICE itself. And yet we had Kristi Noem and J.D. Vance immediately go to social media and blast the culture in America of violence against police officers, violence against ICE, violence against all that. I don't know why people can't take a deep breath and wait and see what's going on before they have to post something on social media. I don't understand the race. Why would you race to your phone to put something up, especially if you're vice president of the United States? And he was commenting about something that Kristi Noem had posted, but she's Homeland Security, and I just don't understand why we go there this quickly. We don't know what happened, but it's starting to look like that's wrong. This was not an attack on ICE, nor any of the agents, unless this person was a really, really bad shooter, is all I can think of. Now, we don't know the logistics, but it sounds like they were outside walking in or detainees or wherever it may have been, and we'll learn as the news conference happens. So we'll find out. I don't know, you don't know, we don't know, but it does not fit the narrative of attacking ICE. This is not some bomb planted at the facility. This was not somebody outside an ICE vehicle where they got out and started shooting at officers. This does not look like targeted against ICE in any way at this point. unless somebody just randomly was like spraying bullets, and somehow randomly all they hit was detainees and not anybody from ICE. We'll let you know as soon as it starts and get you the information. My fear, of course, is something we've talked about over and over and over the last couple of weeks since the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and that is, let's rise above this. Let's not retaliate. Let's not have anybody on the right do anything crazy anytime soon. Peace and civility over violence every single time. Now, the reports are that he took his own life after this was over, so we're clearly talking about somebody suicidal, which in a lot of ways changes a little bit of everything, I think, for some people. I think a lot of people that have decided they don't want to live anymore are copying. When I first started in television news, in my journalism degree, we had a Journalism 101. You don't ever report a suicide. It's never news, no matter what. It became more complicated through the years because then there became murder-suicides. A husband would shoot his spouse and then shoot himself. And then you deal with, is that news or is that not news? And for the longest time, that was not news. Because what nobody in journalism or media wanted was people that are suicidal to decide to take people out with them. Well, just like everything they did on the left and in the media, they have tainted, muddied up, and dirtied reporting in this country in such a way that we have a very difficult time now deciding whether to believe what we hear from the news is true or not. Jimmy Kimmel was an example of that. He's reporting to you that the shooter was MAGA. That's false. Then he said last night that this shooter didn't stand for anything. He was just a crazy person. No, he stood for plenty, and we know exactly what he stood for. And he thought he could get away with it. This was not a suicidal maniac. This was a crazy person that hated Charlie Kirk, had very leftist views, and wanted to kill the man and get away with it. But the media won't report that. So we've gotten to a place in this country where we don't know what to do with a lot of these things. But I'll be darned if I understand how we ever thought it was a good idea, and now I'm part of it, because if I'm not doing it, you're getting it somewhere else. We don't know what happened in this Dallas thing, Northwest Dallas with ICE. But people who take their own lives are not supposed to be on the news. Copycat killers aren't supposed to happen. We have channels on satellite, cable, YouTube, the internet, and anywhere you can stream podcasts that the highest rated of all of them are about murder. They're about crime. The top-selling video games are young people killing each other in video games, whether it's crashing cars or going to war or however it is. Our culture has embraced this in a way that's not healthy for many people. I won't say most people, but for many people, it's not healthy. They can't consume this and stay out of it. And some people cannot separate reality from fiction. But I do know the top podcasts, we talk about Joe Rogan, all the money he makes. The top genre of podcasts is crime. It's crime podcasts. These channels are filled with shows. There are literally channels on cable that are dedicated to nothing but murder mysteries. And I'm not talking about Columbo, some drama. I'm talking about documentaries. People love this content. Netflix makes a living making documentaries about either unsolved crimes or let's revisit this horrific crime. And we call that entertainment. It's no wonder we've created a copycat society. But we have a massive problem with copycat killers in this country. They see it. They see the fame Luigi gets. They see Luigi's got money in a GoFundMe. They see protesters outside a courtroom in New York that say, "Free Luigi." It's trickled down to the NFL. We had Travis Kelce 2 weeks ago wearing a T-shirt before the game that said "Free 4," meaning his teammate, number 4, Rashee Rice. We turn it into football puns. We're so embraced with copycat killers, villains that deserve to be locked up, but people in the streets are going wild to set them free. How we became a culture of whatever percentage of people it is, and most of them are on the left, that just want criminals set free. How we've created a culture that a young man under the age of 16 who has not had his name released yet was asked by a 66-year-old usher at a concert at T-Mobile Center on Saturday night to move to his proper seat and didn't do it and decided to beat up the usher and then assault a security guard on the way out. That's been little reported. He hit a security guard too before the police grabbed him. Then the police take him in and detain him and release him to his parent. No S. They release him to his parent. They sent the boy home to mommy, is what they did. That's all that's been done to this boy who looked really strong, really tough, and really enraged that he was going to have to sit in the seat that he bought a ticket for. And he was going to beat up a guy who's worked at T-Mobile Center since it opened. This man has been in guest services, guest relations, usher, whatever you want to call him. Got the snot beat out of him. What do we get from the mayor of Kansas City, Missouri? A statement from somebody else, his department. The mayor of Kansas City condones violence of all kinds. And come on. Stop. Stop. How about the mayor has a news conference says, we're coming to get you, kid. And if you're under 18, we're coming to get all of you. And we're cracking down on all of you because we're sick of it. We are sick of 14, 15, and 16-year-olds running around, beating people up, robbing people, carjacking, and murdering. And we're really sick of you shooting at each other. Because innocent people standing by are getting killed. Trump's done a lot in his first few months. It is not enough. Crime has been the topic of 2025. There's no question. And maybe in some way, it's inspiring these people to go crazy and do something. I don't know what this guy did. I just know, by and large, I'd rather not talk about violence. I don't like seeing it. I don't like movies that have it. I'm just not that guy. But I recognize that it's real, and I think a lot of this is created by our culture and our society. That's just my 2 cents worth. You can call me crazy if you like. You can say that I'm completely wrong and misguided and this is all on the left, all you want. I don't know. I just think there's crazy people out there that go too far. And there's a whole lot of young people they're right. When this kid at T-Mobile believed he could get away with this, beat this old man up and nothing would happen to him, he was right. Correct? He was just right. And if a guy's going to get on a rooftop with a rifle and kill himself, this is the day he's decided to check out. What are you going to do? And so what? You make that person famous on their way out? Yeah. We got some problems. We've gone wrong. We're pleased to be brought to you today by our friends at Best Offer KC, helping you leave the hassle behind. These are absolutely the best in the industry in Kansas City for helping you move quickly when you don't want a realtor, no showings, no repairs, no cleanup. We've been talking about Stacy from Kansas City, who recently was in a dangerous situation in her home with a couple of kids. Restraining order on a person that she was with, and he wouldn't stay away. She had to sell the house and get out. She left town. They did this very quickly. It's one of the things that Best Offer KC does. They understand your situation. They work with you no matter what it is, no matter how dire it is, or if you've just inherited a house and you want to sell it quickly. There's a lot of different reasons, but this is part of what they deal with every day, and they're outstanding at it. BestOfferKC.com. Working compassionately with you and your family to do the right thing at the right time as quickly as possible. Call 816-338-SOLD to reach bestofferkc.com. Bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
From Gardner to Grain Valley, it's Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Okay, we're going to go live to this news conference in Dallas. Eric Johnson is the mayor of Dallas, Texas. We have found the reason to say a prayer. Apparently, it's dead immigrants, dead detainees, because the mayor just opened this statement that we're about to join 30 seconds ago with a prayer for the victims. This is Eric Johnson, the mayor of Dallas.
Be there for one another the way we always have in times like this, to support one another, help us all get through this very difficult time, not just in our city, but in our country. And that's why I'd ask you to pray for our nation. There's a lot going on right now in our country. A lot of it's confusing. It's a scary time. I've got children. I've got 3 young children, and I'm here to tell you that it is challenging to explain to them what's going on in our country right now. But I said before, and I'll say it again, I believe in the power of prayer to change things, and it can change the hearts of people. It can change this country. It can change this city. So please pray for everyone who's affected by today's tragedy. I also want to say thank you to the Dallas Police Department, and say thank you to the Dallas Sheriff's Department, Dallas County Sheriff's Department, Texas Department of Public Safety, and all of our various federal law enforcement partners who acted so quickly today to make sure that today's tragedy wasn't worse than what it was. So on behalf of the city of Dallas, I want to say thank you to all of you. And you're going to hear from some of those folks later, but I wanted to let you know that we appreciate what you all do, not just today, but every day, to help keep us all safe. And lastly, and this is really important, I would ask all of the city of Dallas residents who can hear me right now, let's be patient, let's remain calm, and let's let our law enforcement partners, our police department, do their job. This is an active investigation. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, and I want to encourage all of you to exercise a little bit of restraint and allow them to do their job to help make sure this continues to be a safe city, and that they can help us figure out what happened here today. But with that, I want to say, again, thank you to all the folks who came out this morning from our law enforcement community. I'll turn it over to our police chief, Daniel Como, to speak a little bit more directly to the investigation itself. And with that, Chief Como, thank you.
All right, the police chief about to speak. Ted Cruz is also there. Here come the details of the shooting in Dallas.
We received a assist the officer call. We responded to the call, got to the scene, and we later learned that we had 4 individuals that were shot, 2 of them deceased, including the shooter. The DPD was able to locate the shooter, who was deceased. We're going to be working this investigation shoulder to shoulder with our federal partners. The FBI is on scene, and right now I'm going to introduce you to the SAC of the Dallas Field Division, FBI Joe Rumrock.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Joe Rothrock. I'm the special agent in charge of the Dallas FBI Field Office. I want to first start by thanking our partners in local law enforcement, specifically the Dallas Police Department, for their quick and timely response. I can confirm at this time that the FBI is investigating this incident as an act of targeted violence. It is unfortunately just the most recent example we've seen of targeted violence, to include here in North Texas, where back on July 4th, we saw a coordinated attack carried out against an immigration detention center in Alvarado, Texas. What I can also share with you is that early evidence that we've seen from rounds that were found near the suspected shooter contain messages that are anti-ICE in nature. Again, this is just the most recent example of this type of attack. This will be a whole of government response. There will be no resource not utilized to bring all those individuals who are responsible to bring them to justice and to hold them accountable. While we're not releasing identities of any victims at this time, what I can confirm for you is no members of law enforcement were hurt during this attack. If any member of the public has information that would help the FBI's investigation, I would ask that you please report that to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Again, any piece of information will be helpful, but this will be an ongoing investigation between us, a number of federal partners, and our local partners, again, to ensure that anyone responsible is held accountable. With that, I will turn it over to my counterpart from the ICE Enforcement and Removal Office.
Good morning. My name is Joshua Johnson. I'm the acting field office director for ICE Dallas. I'll be brief with my comments, but I do want to start off by saying thank you to the Dallas Police Department, Dallas FBI, HSI, CBP, ATF, and virtually every law enforcement officer in North Texas for your support. This is the second time I've had to stand in front of you and talk about a shooter at one of my facilities, and I think that the takeaway from all of this is that the rhetoric has to stop. There are people out there who are seeing what is being placed online, and they're coming and they're doing acts of violence against ICE employees. So that's kind of all I have for today, is that it's just got to stop. It's dangerous, and people are losing their lives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for coming. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you all so much. As it was said here today, if you do have any information, reach out to 1-800-CALL-FBI. Thank you. Senator Cruz. Thank you.
This needs to stop. Violence is wrong. Politically motivated violence is wrong. It was 2 weeks ago today that we saw a political assassination in Utah that tore the heart out of much of this country. This is the third shooting in Texas directed at ICE or CBP. This must stop. To every politician who is using rhetoric demonizing ICE and demonizing CBP, stop. To every politician demanding that ICE agents be doxxed and calling for people to go after their families, stop. This has very real consequences. Look, in America, we disagree. That's fine. That's the democratic process. But your political opponents are not Nazis. We need to learn to work together without demonizing each other, without attacking each other. And I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of law enforcement. I want to say thank you to the brave men and women of ICE and CBP and everyone who puts their lives on the line to keep us safe.
All right, that's U.S. Senator Ted Cruz at a live news conference in Northwest Dallas. It has now been confirmed by the authorities there this was an anti-ICE attack, and the shooter shot at a van, apparently, indiscriminately, and killed the detainees inside the van, and no ICE agents were hurt. So not targeting the detainees, targeting ICE, shooting at a van, and those two dead and injured were inside that van. Your Fox News update is coming up in just a matter of seconds. Then Mark Alford will join us, the Missouri congressman, straight ahead on Uncanceled. This is KCMO Talk Radio.
Call Kevin Kietzman, 913-408-7957. Now on 95.7 FM.
Congressman Mark Alford joining us now. We're still learning information about this shooting in Dallas at the ICE facility in northwest Dallas. A man on a roof opened fire on an ICE van. This was a man that, according to the FBI special agent, had anti-ICE propaganda left behind. He then took his own life. So a man who did not like ICE detaining illegal alien criminals winds up killing 2 detainees inside a van because he was randomly shooting at it indiscriminately because he hates ICE. That's where we are in America, folks. Joining us right now is Mark Alford, a great Kansas City and a great representative in Washington, D.C. Congressman Alford, welcome to the show. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, Kevin. I'm in my office here in Raymore. We're making some visits around town to different businesses. Just went to a hospital in Belton and meeting with some constituents. Just actually wrapped up a meeting with the head of the IRS union here in town, who's been at a number of our town hall meetings, Daniel, and I invited him to come to our office and let's just sit down and have a face-to-face. So it's a very good meeting.
I know you had to announce a few weeks ago that you were going to be suspending your town halls and a lot of the public appearances you're making. We saw another really bad act of violence, this one against ICE in Dallas today. And I know that we're all going to condemn this and say we got to stop it and it's got to happen. How do we do it, Congressman? How do we stop these things from happening?
Oh, man, that's the $1 million question. It's not with new gun regulations. I know that. I mean, you look at the weapon that the guy had that killed Charlie Kirk. I don't know what gun regulation you would put in place to stop a hunting rifle from being sold. Anything that you did would be really contrary to the Second Amendment. There's a lot of heated things going on in America. I think people need to hear the truth. I think people they're not accepting the truth because they hate Donald Trump so much. This is, I think, an offshoot of Trump derangement syndrome. It is a willingness to kill, to maim, to harm in order to stop the America First agenda. This is simple. The ICE employees, the men and women who put their lives on the line literally now, as we see, and have every good reason to wear a mask so that they will not be doxxed, so that people who want to harm them or harm their families won't be following them at home at night. But I think this is just a symptom of this hatred, this derangement against President Trump and the America First agenda. We have every right to deport criminal, illegal aliens and repatriate them, which these people were on their way to going back to their home countries, and now 2 of them are dead. Is that what people really want? They want to end up killing the very people that we're trying to repatriate to their countries. It's just a hatred. I think part of it, quite frankly, is demonic. I think there's a demonic element to this that is infiltrated different organizations, including Antifa, including others, that want to stop goodness from happening in America.
You know, Mark, you and I have been around media long enough to remember. I started the show today with some comments. I remember in journalism school, one of the first things we were taught was don't ever report or identify a suicide in any way, because there would be copycats and people might want to take somebody out with them. We have you can't touch free speech. You can't touch freedom of the press. I'm not insinuating in any way, shape, or form we go after either one of those things. I'm not suggesting that. But it has occurred to me over the decades of career that I've had, and probably you, the more media, the more choppers in the sky, the more social media, we're seeing copycats. This Luigi guy goes to New York and kills the healthcare CEO, and they've made a hero out of him on the left. They have people in the streets picketing Free Luigi. They've raised all this money for his legal defense fund. We're seeing some of that with Tyler Robinson, the Charlie Kirk alleged killer. I don't understand how we're ever going to solve this when we make these people famous, and we'll probably make this person in Dallas famous. How much of a problem is that, and is there anything we can do to curb how much gets out there about the identity of these people so they don't want to go try to become famous?
I had this discussion with managers back at the station I formerly worked for, and you did as well, and pretty much there's no turning back now, because when we used to not report suicides or bomb threats, Now it is seen that since we have been doing it, since the cat's out of the bag, and I blame a lot of that on the 24-hour news cycle and the advent of cable television journalism has changed, I think, a lot for the worse because there's so much black hole to fill. And so you've got to fill it with information. And a lot of times that is shoddy information that's unverified, and it will be presented as such, but a caveat attached to it that we're going to try to verify this information. I'm a firm believer that you shouldn't report information unless it has been verified. That's kind of gone out the window. I think you've got to get back into the journalism schools, including University of Missouri, one of the finer journalism schools in America. And you've got to start basically all over again with how journalism is supposed to work. And it's not sensationalism. It's not reporting bomb threats or suicides, but it's getting back to verifiable information and making sure that that information is true and accurate and not always first. You can be first, and a lot of stations, radio stations, TV stations, and print are competing now with online information. And so they've got to get out there and be the first at it. I would rather be the best, the most accurate, rather than first.
I agree with you, and I don't understand the race to, put news on. The New York Times yesterday, when Ryan Ruth was convicted on all 5 counts, they put a story up accidentally that was pre-written. They actually have pre-writers at most of these newspapers that he was not guilty. And it was up on their website for a while because they were just racing to get the story up as fast as they could. They put the wrong story up. What is the hurry on these things?
Well, it's a competition ever increasing for eyeballs, especially now online. And I think with the advent of artificial intelligence, AI, I think you're going to see a lot more of inconsistency and inaccuracies with the information that's disseminated. I think that's one reason with the broadcast entities, especially that take advantage of true broadcast. I'm not talking about cable, that is covered under the 1934's Communications Act, that every station, including yours there, holds, if you broadcast over the public airwaves, then the airwaves belong to the people and you must operate in the public interest. And that's what Brendan Carr is going after now. These stations that lie, that do not try to protect the public interest when it comes to truth, their license should be looked at. I'm not saying stripped of their license, but I don't think the average person listening right now, Kevin, knows that every station in town has a file drawer that has their license in it and has a public comment file. You used to see the public service ads that would run on TV stations, our file is available to look at. They don't do that anymore, but anyone can go down to any station at any time and request to see the public file for the Federal Communications Act for that station. And the biggest job that a general manager has at any station is to protect the license of that station. The airwaves belong to the people, and we need to start acting like it.
Mark, we saw this unbelievable event at T-Mobile Center on Sunday night. 66-year-old employee who's worked there for 20 years. He's an usher. He's looks to be a very nice man. He's been doing this for 20 years. He walks up to a young male under the age of 16. That's all we know because he's a minor, but he didn't look like a minor. He certainly doesn't hit or fight like a minor. He picked this man up, slammed him to the ground, beat the living daylights out of him. Then he assaulted a security guard on the way out. The police detained him and released him to his parent with no charges at this point. That was Sunday night because this is a minor. We just let minors commit crimes now and walk free in Kansas City, Missouri. Can you explain for our listeners what has happened in Washington, D.C. with 14 years and up teenagers, and is D.C. safer than Kansas City, Missouri right now?
Well, I think it is, and under the leadership of Judge Jeanine Pirro, who's now the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, which is a federal district, in case people don't know that, they have a little bit different sets of rules, and while they have their own city council and mayor, Congress still pretty much controls what goes on. If we want to change the laws for the District of Columbia, we can do that and tighten them up, and now we did pass a law through the House that basically says that 14-year-olds can now be tried and charged and tried as adults. For so long, prosecutors, especially Soros-funded prosecutors across America and others who are funded by left-leaning contributors and causes are soft on crime because of this, what they perceive as a social injustice that has happened over the last several decades, and they want to try to right things in social justice. And so young people are allowed to commit crimes without any consequences. And that is coming to an end in Washington, D.C. There was here's a good example, Kevin. A friend of mine, Ron Estes, he's a representative from Wichita, Kansas, great friend of mine. His intern was shot and killed a couple of months ago when he was leaving his apartment there in Washington, D.C., just to go get something to eat. And two of the perpetrators in this, there were three people involved, were under the age of 16. They have to be held accountable. We cannot continue just because someone is under the age of 18, allow them to continue to victimize people, whether it's at the T-Mobile Center, whether it's on the streets of Kansas City, or anywhere in the United States of America.
And when I watched this video of T-Mobile, and I felt the same thing about, when we initially heard at the Chiefs Super Bowl parade, children are going to the hospital. Children have been shot. They're going to Children's Mercy. Well, they were shooting each other. This was gang violence. They were all 14, 15, and 16-year-old. These young criminals know, and there's no doubt when I watched this video for Sunday night, that young person, that young man, that was beating up the 66-year-old man, there is no doubt in my mind that young person knew they're not going to touch me. There's nothing they can do to me. I'm not 18. This is now part of our, culture of young people is they know nothing is going to happen to them. Of course they're going to commit crimes if there's no punishment.
Well, this is something that's going to have to move with the individual state legislatures because they pretty much set the parameters for prosecution according to age. And I think that's something that our state senators and representatives are going to have to take a good, hard look at and make some adjustments. Young people now in 2025 are not the same young people when you and I grew up in the 80s. Things have changed. Teens a lot of times have become more of an adult and in their way of thinking, although their brains aren't fully developed. They're committing heinous, criminal, adult-style actions and crimes, and they need to be held accountable.
No doubt. All right, final thought, Mark Alford, our guest, Missouri's 4th. They redrew your district. I know you've been asked about this a little bit before, but your thoughts on the new map for your district and the future of your elections there, and maybe even the possibility of Quentin Lucas trying to take you on. Where are we standing on this thing, Mark?
Well, look, I stayed out of this initially. This was between President Trump, Mike Kehoe, our state legislature. Mike Kehoe and his team put together the Missouri First map. Now that it's passed through the House and the Senate, and he's intending to sign it at any time, I don't know when that's going to be, I'm standing behind it. I think that the 5th Congressional District, for a long time, I think 76 years, has been represented by a Democrat. And what has happened over those 76 years? Is Kansas City better off in the last 76 years, or have we seen a decline in services? And I want to make a difference, and that I've worked my butt off to make sure that our rural parts of our district are well represented. We travel over 100,000 miles a year listening to people. We just finished a 15-stop, 4-day town hall tour all over the district. And if this does end up where we get part of the city, I will represent them to the fullest of my ability. About 40% of that district is Republican, and their voices have not been fully represented in Congress for the last 75 years. Maybe it's time for a change. I want to be a part of that change. I want to provide top-level, concierge-level service to the constituents of the 4th Congressional District, no matter where those boundaries are. We are not going to agree on everything. I'm not going to vote the way that everyone wants me to vote in Kansas City, but I will listen and we will serve.
Mark, we appreciate your time. We look forward to your radio show right here on KCMO Saturday at 1 o'clock and again Sunday morning at 8:30. Thank you for all that you do contributing here and for the people of the great state of Missouri.
Thank you, Kevin. God bless.
Thank you. Take care. There is Mark Alford, Missouri Congressman, outstanding his thoughts on the growing violence and the future of his district. Uncanceled continues on KCMO right after these messages.
If it's happening in KCMO, it's on KCMO 95.7 FM. Here's Kevin Kietzman.
All right, we're back on KCMO Talk Radio. Much more coming up at the top of the hour on this shooting in Dallas. It appears an anti-ICE freak was on a roof shooting indiscriminately at an ICE van in Dallas. 2 people inside the van, detainees are dead, another injured, no ICE agents hurt. But the FBI is basically saying this is anti-ICE from the top of the roof. So they've released a photo of a couple of bullets that were laying there, and written on one of them with like a Sharpie is anti-ICE on the bullets. So more on that coming up. Let's lighten it up here at the end with our friend Mark Van Sickle. We cannot leave this show without lightening it up a little bit. How are you, friend?
Doing well.
Have you heard of this pitcher for the Chicago Cubs? Third baseman for the Chicago Cubs named Matt Shaw.
Yes.
This is one of the best stories.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to share it, or would you like me to?
Oh, yeah. I saw you went to the Charlie Kirk Memorial, right?
He did. And apparently the Mets broadcasters, including Gary Cohen, called him weird for leaving his baseball team and going to Charlie Kirk's funeral. He'd been a longtime friend of Charlie Kirk's. Erica Kirk texted him and asked if he could please come to the memorial. The Cubs are involved in a wild card race. They've already made it. They're in now. Their position isn't likely to change. They have the number 1 wild card spot in the NL. So nothing was harmed, nothing was hurt. For a lot of reasons, guys leave and miss a ball game. This is among the best. And he stood right there in front of all the liberal reporters and talked about his faith, his Christian brotherhood with Charlie Kirk, and the plea from his wife to please come to this thing. And anybody that criticizes that, there's a special place for that person.
Yeah, he should have gone, and he did go, and there was no reason to criticize for that.
It's a beautiful thing that he did that. It's also beautiful that more and more people are willing to speak out about their stance now and not be afraid. We were timid a decade ago. We didn't want to be identified as whatever, conservative or Christian or whatever. People are speaking out everywhere, and I love that. Looks like Salvi's coming back. You excited?
Yes. I was hoping that he'd come back, and I know some people don't like it, some people do, but I think next year is going to be the farewell tour.
You think he's going to announce beforehand he's done?
I don't know if he's going to announce beforehand, but they should treat it like that. Because it's the last year of his contract, right?
Right, but then they could maybe sign him for $5 million for one more year to be a part-time DH or something. There's a lot of things. I don't think he's ready to hang it up. I don't think he's Travis Kelce.
Okay, all right.
There's no podcast. There's no billionaire. America's sweetheart singer. Yeah. I don't think the guy loves baseball.
It's true.
Dude, does he have a 30th home run yet or 29?
He has 30 now.
30.
Yeah.
And he's close to 100 RBIs?
Mm-hmm.
Hall of Famer. Not even close. Hall of Famer. Have you seen what's happened in the AL Central?
Yes. Detroit free-falling and the Guardians soaring. I don't know. It's crazy.
2.5 weeks ago, the Royals were ahead of the Guardians.
Yep.
They're going to win the division.
I think so.
The Guardians have won 11 of 12. That's Cleveland. The Cleveland Indians have won 11 out of 12. Detroit has lost 7 straight and 10 of 11. On August 25th, Cleveland was 12 and a half games out, and they were 3 back of the Royals.
So crazy. I was hoping the Royals could do this, but it didn't work out in their favor.
The Guardians beat Scuba last night, the reigning Cy Young winner.
Yep.
It was a weird night. And you want to know what ails the Chiefs' offense? 52 plays in the last game on first and second down. They averaged 3 yards per play.
Got to do better.
Got to do better on first and second down. Thank you, buddy. That was fun. We lightened it up a little bit. The Vince Show's coming up on KCMO Talk Radio. Thank you so much for listening to Uncanceled.